Alrighty, so now let's get to our DM question of the week. This is an interesting one. It's a pretty confusing one, but it's how wish spells work.
Yeah, one of our past conversations made me want to do this one.
Yeah.
It was not requested. So I think there's a big misconception
Of what it is, of what it does.
Yeah, how a wish spell works. So our DM question is how the wish spell works, or how does the wish spell work?
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to say what it is, and you can elaborate. So in D&D, especially for wizards, the whole system is kind of described as magic is the ability to basically pluck or weave the strings of reality. So if you picture, like, the phrase fabric of reality, a fabric is made of, like, string. And so what a wizard does with magic is basically picks and chooses where to weave string. And so what a wish spell is basically ultimate mastery of this
reality
of
itself.
this weaving, of this ability to craft reality. And so I guess you could also think about it as coding. So,
So you're telling me wizards are hackers?
Yes, you're basically hacking reality. And so a person who is capable of using the wish spell is a master hacker or a master weaver. So that's how magic works.
They literally break the game. They hack, they cheat in the game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like a cheat. I saw one person describe using a wish spell as hacking or like coding a game, but not being able to check for bugs until it's done. So that gets into it.
Exactly.
But what we're dealing with here is the most powerful spell in D&D.
Yes.
The wish spell.
Stupid powerful.
Super powerful. And so this is where the misconception occurs. What people believe is that a player can do anything with a wish spell.
No.
That is not the case. Do you have anything to add about what the wish spell is?
I can explain why that's not the case.
Sure.
Because, so basically, there is someone who governs and, governs the fabric of reality, which is the magic goddess. I forget her name.
Well, it's actually not specified.
It's not specified, but
Because we're dealing with reality, not magic.
No, but
what I mean?
Remember, magic messes with reality.
Yes, but there's a difference between magic and reality. So the wish spell is messing with reality, but magic isn't itself reality, if that makes sense.
Right, but in a certain way, the goddess can influence and govern that magic messing with reality.
And there can be a force that is reality itself, and it may just be like a natural force.
Exactly.
That can also be resistant to the magic.
That's true. But, for example, you can't have a wizard say, I want a 10th level spell, which is not, the highest level is 9th, right? And there has been 10th until there were rules, and the god's like, nope, not gonna happen, buddy. Good try. Pats him on the head.
So you're basically saying
there are rules.
The reason that not anything can happen is that there's rules, and then there's basically a judge that can deny or approve things that you do.
But also, like what you said, there are entities or forces that will resist that. So we'll be like,
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question now becomes yes, we've thrown out that sorry, you can't do anything you want with a wish spell, but let's get into what the actual rules say. Because we're not just throwing this out as an opinion. I mean, we're talking the actual rules here. Of course, you can homebrew it if you want. But if your DM wants to homebrew that a wish spell can do anything, your game is going to blow up once you get to level 20 or whatever. So anyway, so let's look at the actual rules. So a lot of people just, I guess, haven't read these, which is why we're sharing them. And actually, I hadn't really known about these. Wish spells are pretty rare, so I didn't really ever really need to know. But the more we talked about it, me and you, the more it was like, how does the wish spell exactly work? And so this is how. So the wish spell it's not open-ended, actually. Not entirely. It has choices you can make on what you can do with the spell. And so this is the choices. You can duplicate another spell, but of only 8th level or lower. So you cannot duplicate a 9th level spell.
We're going to duplicate Wish Spell.
That's exactly.
And then we duplicate. We do make all the spells, which is like hundreds, into Chain Lightning. And then just like the one boss is like, wait, what are you doing? Just all of a sudden just disintegrates.
Yeah. So the reason you can't duplicate a 9th level spell is because Wish Spell is a 9th level spell. And to duplicate the Wish Spell with the Wish Spell would be an endless loop that would break reality. So that's why you can't do it. Or instead of duplicating a spell, you can create any effect of your choice. So that's that option. The next option is you can create one object that's up to 25,000 gold pieces that isn't a magical item. And the item has to be no bigger than 300 feet in its dimensions, and it can only show up in an unoccupied space. So you can't just snap your fingers and have like a block of iron in the middle of someone's heart or something.
I wish that you died by a block of iron in your heart. That's very...
But this would say, I create a block of iron where his heart is. You can't do it. It's got to be unoccupied. So this puts this is a big limitation right here. It says only up to 25,000 gold pieces. That the rules itself with this bullet point here is saying that that anything more expensive than that really shouldn't be done with a Wish Spell. But we'll get into that it can be. So we were talking earlier about Iron Golems, like how you were saying, can't you just Wish Spell an Iron Golem into reality? And then I was saying, no, you can't. This is why, because the Wish Spell has limits. An Iron Golem costs 80,000 gold pieces and more than that. This is saying you can only go up to 25,000, so you can't do an Iron Golem. The next thing you can do is you can heal/restore effects of 20 creatures maximum, which is obviously all these things are very powerful, right? But it's limited. You can't do 21, right?
Sad.
Can't do 21. Another thing that you can do is you can grant 10 creatures maximum immunity to a specific spell or effect for 8 hours, but only 8 hours, and only 10 maximum. You can't do it infinitely, right? There's limits. You can also undo a recent event by forcing a reroll, but it must be within the last round. So there's a limitation of how far back you can go. So that's all of them. All these things are things the rules say you can do with Wish. This is interesting, right? Because no one uses Wish to do any of these things. This is not what Wish is used for. But that's what the rules say. But the rules also do give more information into what else you can do. If, let's say, the Wish spell is designed to be whatever you wish. But the rules give a very strict criteria that is as strict as possible on how to go about it. So this is what it says. Anything beyond the scope of these options is under direct control. Well, sorry, this is more my wording now. Is under direct control of the DM. So the DM gets to pick whether something is allowed that is beyond the scope of these options. If a player picks one of these options, it just happens. There's no problems. Well, actually, I'll get into it. But there's basically no issues. It's guaranteed to work. That's true. But you were giving me a but. But if you want to do something more or different, there are risks associated with it, and the DM is in charge of making sure these risks play out. So
basically, all those rules, that's like safe.
That's safe.
But
safe
if you want to do anything more, that's the DM is like has a little smile. It's like, oh, okay. Later down the line, basically that's a kind of like not really fan service, but it points to the monkey paw story. Have you ever heard of that story?
Yes, I have. I like
so basically,
well, we aren't there yet. You totally skipped.
Skipped what?
Well, we're not there yet. So we okay, just hang on. Just hang on. I know exactly when that will come in. So, okay. So let's say you want to do something beyond the scope of these options. These options are very good, but you probably want to do something game breaking. So go ahead. The DM It's their world, right? It's their reality. So they get to pick whether it works at all or not. So this is what can happen if you want to wish for something. The DM can flat out make it impossible. The spell can just fail. You casted the spell, nothing happened. That can happen. So this doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want as a player. If you as a player think you're gonna get a 1-up on the DM and do something crazy, the DM can say, nope, didn't work.
Legendary resistance.
So
DM
yeah,
spell.
so don't think you're gonna be messing with the DM with the spell. What the DM, I mean, it would be a little harsh for the DM to do that, so they probably wouldn't, and not as fun because there are some better alternatives. But what the DM can also do is make the spell partially work. So, I don't know if they're like, I want the sword of whatever super powerful sword there is. What's that?
The Vopal
sword. Maybe you'll get a sword, but it won't be that sword. Something like that.
Or maybe you like have to work for it. Like the wish spell just plop a map or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
it'll
something
just show
like
you
that.
the location of it. It won't give it to you outright, but
Sure.
you know where it is.
There's that. Another option is that the DM may choose is it may work, but it may have negative consequences associated with it. So there's tons of examples of this. Like if you want to resurrect someone, maybe resurrecting them also kills someone else. So maybe like you say, I wish for my companion to be resurrected, and then your life force leaves your body and goes into them, and you die.
That is messed up.
And the DM has complete privilege of doing that. They can totally do that. Anything that makes sense like that can be done. The last one that a DM can do, the last choice, is the most common one and probably the most fun one. And this is they can make it work, but it works in a way that the caster did not expect. And this is where this is where everyone talks about the wording. And everyone is very focused on this point, but like I've been talking about, there's a lot more that can happen with the wish spell. But a lot of people assume that whatever they say must happen, and maybe it will happen negatively, but it must happen. That is not true. So that's the myth I'm trying to break here. It can, as a DM, you are allowed to just say it didn't work. You're totally allowed to do that, unless it's on one of the, the stated things they can do. But this is a fun one, and this is where the monkey paw comes in, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so the monkey paw is a story about this monkey hand, gross, that could give you wishes. And basically, it was like a family or something. The dad was like, I wish I had money, right? And like he got a bunch of money and stuff, but his son like gets run over by like the loan car or something like that. Like the car explodes, something like that. He's like, I wish my like son would like come back. And once he does that, someone else died that he loved very much.
That's not the version I know.
I don't know. It's been years, but like, I mean, do you know? He said he wanted his son back, right?
Yeah, and what happened, I believe, on that part was he did get his son back, but it was in like
a zombie.
It was like in pieces. Like his son got grinded up in a factory, and they just brought the pieces of his son back to him, like on his doorstep.
That is messed up. Yeah, so the wish spell can do that.
So it's all about doing something unexpectedly. There are a couple examples that they give, if I can remember them correctly.
There's a good one. It's like if you're a battle commander, you're like, I wish I would win the war.
Okay.
Or like, let's say your adventure's like, I wish that we beat the main villain.
Okay.
Well, you might all beat him, but you all die as well. Or something like that. Like, it kills you, but it dies of its wounds.
So that, in my opinion, it works, but it has negative consequences. This one is slightly different, where it works, but not how it was intended. And so this is what I mean. This is one of the examples given. If you say, I wish our enemy died, I wish they were dead. That's what you say. Instead of them just dying, only you, get teleported into the future to when they're dead. And now you're gone and out of the game. Because you're no longer in the same time. Yeah. Or it's like, I wish I had, the Vopal sword. And then you get teleported to the Death Knight that's holding it.
Hi, look.
So you get teleported like across the realms to wherever the sword is instead of the vice versa. So
Yeah.
it's just this is where the DM can get really picky with your wording.
It's just like,
and they should. If you are a DM, you should be merciless with this because this spell is not meant to be used with such powerful things. It gives them options, and if they want to do something more powerful, they better word that perfectly. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
or you're gonna freaking the
and
DM's like,
it's almost impossible to word something perfectly. Almost. There's almost always a loophole that you as a DM, if you have a little bit of time, can come up with, right? Because they're not allowed to throw in like a huge novel of a wish. The wish has to basically be a single idea. They can't be like, I wish that the enemy died, but we also don't get transported in the future, and then we all no, that's more than one wish. What's your wish now? You know what I mean? So
what is your wish, boy?
and as the DM, you don't even need to tell them that. They can just say it, and then you can say, all right, I'm going to take the first thing you said because that's all that matters. Everything else after that doesn't count because you don't get 50 wishes, you get one. So it's tough to make a wish that's
But
better.
can you do I wish to have better wishes?
That doesn't. What would that even mean?
I wish to have more wishes, boyo.
I mean,
No, that probably wouldn't work. The DM would be like, no. Sad.
yeah, it probably wouldn't work. Like if it doesn't make sense, I don't know what that would mean.
Uh-oh.
Like there was one I was it was like, right. If they say this is something your player might try, so let me tell you what happens to them if they try it. If they say, I wish that my actions can have no negative consequences, okay. So then it's like, oh, you just loopholed, you beat it. Nope. Then as a DM, you just say, all right, you can't take any more actions. And then they're like, all right, I wish that I undo my sorry, that'd take an action. So you're dead, practically dead.
Unless someone else.
Unless someone else. But that would undo your thing, and then now it doesn't work, right? So
Nice try, boyo.
as a DM,
show no mercy.
show no mercy. And as a player, just know that if you try to do a wish that is stronger than what this is, you're playing with fire. You know what I mean? So don't ask for anything too crazy.
That's the funniest one. I wish I had the Vopal sword you get transport. Where am I? Just the Death Knight. Look, man,
Oh.
please. Just,
Yeah. Also, so a way to think about the wish spell is you can think about it as in if someone does something extremely powerful, they're messing with reality to a higher extent, and reality doesn't want to be messed with. So basically there's two ways of doing this. You can either make the consequences greater. So that's kind of the typical one. But you can also, if you want to be nice, just give them what they ask for in the easiest way possible, right? So if they ask for, the big magical item, in terms of reality, it might be easier for them to get teleported to the item instead of the item getting teleported to them, depending on the circumstances. Or if they ask for something to be dead, it might be easier just to teleport them in the future instead of changing the course of history by killing them now or something like that.
exactly, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
obviously,
pretty cool.
when you mess with time, it's going to be crazy no matter what. But you could do it that way. But the easiest way is just, if they say something wrong, punish them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
basically.
But the wish spell is great. Like, if you as a player do something crazy, as a DM, that's awesome. Because now the DM gets to do something really fun, and the story gets to change.
Wait, imagine I wish I had 25,001 gold piece. You get the money, you're like, great, and then you look up, just one just goes like light speed into your head.
Yeah, or you just get the amount of money, but one of them's like in half. So it's like, I guess this counts.
And then you look up, and then the other half goes in your head.
Okay, sure. Okay, there is one more thing in the rules about the wish spell, and this is interesting. This truly I did not know.
I actually didn't know it had all these like rules and safe options.
I know. No, I don't think
I
anyone
didn't-
knows
I didn't
this.
know that.
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
But there was the one bullet point at the beginning where you can duplicate another spell of 8th level or lower. That's actually the only safe one. All the others you can do, and they will happen. But this is what happens if you do them. And this includes anything beyond the scope. This happens. So anything other than duplicating a spell is stressful on the caster. And the reason for this is these are not like paved paths of magic. You know what I mean? Like lightning bolt. Like that's a repeated spell that's used. It's basically fit into the puzzle of reality. It's kind of like an established spell. If you're trying to do something that's never been done, you take on a lot of stress to do that as a caster. So, after you've taken that stress, every spell casted by the caster after they've casted the wish spell causes them 1d10 necrotic damage per spell level. So if they cast another 9th level spell, that's 9d10s of necrotic damage. If they cast a 3rd level spell, 3d10s necrotic damage. Okay, so they're going to be taking damage for every spell they cast until they take a long rest, and then they're good. So this is just like a backfire.
Also, like if you do the wish spell, all the other spells that you do hurts you.
Yes, and it's just because the wish spell is so powerful. But again, if you use the wish spell to do a different spell, you're just doing something that's established. It ain't too much work on your body. You're good. But if you're trying to pave the new magic path, you get stressed. Your body is put under stress.
That's really cool.
It is cool, but it's not over. This damage cannot be avoided in any way. Absolutely no way.
So if you're immune to narcotic, no.
No. Yeah, you take it. Also, your strength drops to 3 if it isn't already lower for 2d4 days, but rest can alleviate the days. So you're going to be very weak. And then also, this one's tough, you have a 33% chance that you will never be able to cast Wish again. So this is only if you take the stress. So if you use Wish to just duplicate another spell, no problem. You can do that as many times as you want. But if you use Wish to do something unique, you have to roll a dice or something to figure out whether you're ever going to be able to do it again.
Wait, I just realized something. What's the point of wishing for another spell? Like, couldn't you just do that spell?
You could, but maybe you don't have it prepared. You can do a spell from a different class. So you can do that. And you just might not have it ready. So it just allows you to be infinitely versatile. Because you can say, out of the hundreds of spells that exist, which one? You know what
I do a cantrip. It's just like everyone. It's just like
that'd be a bad use.
You wasted it.
But yeah, having a wish spell ready is like you're ready for anything now. You know what I mean? But if you want to do something fancy, which is fun for the game, but it is harmful to your character.
Oh, it's very...
And so the way I'd recommend doing the 33%, which is kind of was annoying to me, I think they should have done 25%, is I would roll a d4, and if it's a 1, you never get to use Wish again. If it's a 2, you're good. If it's a 3, you're good. If it's a 4, you re-roll. So 4, you're not allowed to get. So that's a 33% is 1 out of 3. So that's how I would do that. So if you cast Wish and you do something fancy, the DM should say roll 1d4, and if it's a 1, you can never cast that spell again.
I wish I could do it again.
You can't cast it.
Nice try, buddy.
Yeah. And that's Wish. So hopefully you guys have a better conception of Wish. I actually think this is more fun than having just a completely open version.
Oh, it's way more fun.
Yeah, because creativity thrives in a box. Because it makes the player have to say, okay, am I willing to take the consequences of doing this? Also, can I word this well? And it makes the game more mentally stimulating, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's good. All right.